Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the DDT Method Podcast. This week, we have an interview that I'm super excited about. Now, most of you guys know my background in pro wrestling, the WWE, kind of in the farm leagues of NXT, FCW back in the day. And I always cite that as something that made me multifaceted because I had to look like a bodybuilder. I had to perform like an athlete. I had to have career longevity. And then as I got out of that and into this world, I got super into bodybuilding, then super into the peptide scene, super into the biohacking scene. And I have somebody here that I've always looked up to as somebody that's been super multifaceted in all of those worlds plus more. I'm here with Jon Andersen. And Jon, for anybody that's not familiar with you, before we start deep diving into everything we can do to optimize and to enhance, what kind of brought you to what you're doing right now? Because you have a hell of a story.
Hell, and that's the best part about my story, bro. That's the best part because I was just like a little fat fucker. And I wasn't abused. I had loving parents. I had no issues. I was just fucking slow, man. It was like back in those days, I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm 54. So when I was in, elementary school, there was none of the ADD, none of that shit. We didn't even know what dyslexia was. It was like the kid doesn't learn as fast as everybody else. So we need to put him in that class over there. And this will tell you how slow I was. So I'm in the parent teacher meeting, and my mom and the teacher tell me, well, it looks like you're gonna need to go to a new class. And I'm thinking, oh, great, new friends. Not fucking realizing that the class I'm going is filled with, like, this was back in the day when everybody was there. Like, there was people like me that were just needed to learn how to stay up with the other kids. And there was other people that were probably never going to have normal lives, and we were all not too far apart, but that's just the way it was. They didn't have the system set up for this yet. So because I was slow, basically, and when you're a kid, all you want to do is be like everybody else, right? And when you get older, all you want to do is not be like everybody else. But my drive to be like everybody else. So basically, being slow, what it did is it gave me the biggest blessing of my life, because I had to learn to work twice, maybe 3 times as hard as everybody else. I had to read things over and over and over to try to learn them. And then I quickly realized I just wasn't learning the way they were teaching. So I had to figure out a way to absorb this shit. So I didn't even know it, but I had created this through these years. I created a problem solving skill set that was just fucking crazy. And I could look at something and I would be confused. And I was like, okay, my mind has started breaking things. It wasn't like I was early on. It's like, okay, you need to do this. I'm just trying to survive, right? That was my mechanism. So I could just figure shit out just by simplifying. I would just break it apart. Okay, I can do this, so I'll work on this. And like a perfect example, so through the problem solving skills and the hard work, I was just, this is my biggest blessing. This is what makes me and everything we're going to talk about after this. I had an experience, saw Arnold Schwarzenegger first time, just knew that I was supposed to be this big guy. No fucking idea I was going to do it. And I knew lifting weights was part of that. So I started lifting weights. And like, I figured out when I was 14, 1 year into lifting weights, I learned how to do a low bar squat just by okay, I need to squat more. I'm watching the older guys get in there. I don't even think they knew what they were doing, but I somehow figured out that if I let the bar slide down my back a little bit, I was substantially stronger. And so they weren't teaching that shit. I just was able to figure it out. And so all of these different, like, that's a perfect example of how I started problem solving to get what I wanted. And it just started to become natural to me. So then I started doing it with my diet. I'm like, I had this massive sugar addiction because I was a fat little guy, because I learned slow. So I was a prime target for the bullies. So somebody would fucking stack me in the lockers or stick me upside down a fucking garbage can. And I'd run for fucking sugar. It was much easier for me to be upset about feeling like shit because I ate a bunch of shit versus face the fact that I was going to have to go back in the hallways and try to avoid the fuckers that just put me upside down the garbage can. So massive sugar addiction I developed, and I got fat. So now I'm fat. And so anyway, but again, all of this shit. So anybody listening that thinks that their troubles they were young is why they're not, bullshit. Those are the reasons why you should be, because that's, you develop the skill set, you develop the hard work. That's, every kick in the nuts you take is a blessing, because you're going to learn something, you're going to develop something. And that's the position I took with it, kind of unknowingly. But anyway, I basically, the next discovery I went into, so lifting weights, I'm figuring out how to lift weights. And I had some good coaches, but they weren't teaching this. They were just trying to keep us from tipping over forward on the squat. You know, they were just like, okay, you know, they weren't telling me to lower the bar. I'll tell you that. So my next big discovery is diet. I'm like, okay, I'm fucking fat and I'm tired of being fat. And I can't stop overeating. I need to figure out a way that I can overeat. So I can't stop doing this. And that was in time in my life where I used the word I can't a lot. How do I fix this? So I started experimenting with different types of foods. Like, okay, I'll just eat one food, right? Because in my mind, that made sense. Really simple. I could stick to that really simple rule. Well, first, you know, this is back when, you know, on TV, eat wheat bread. So I'm fucking eating loads of wheat bread. I'm getting fatter than ever. And then somewhere I discovered, basically, long and short of it, we ran out of wheat bread. So one day I started eating tuna, cans of tuna. And I noticed like it was probably only a day, maybe two. I was like, I feel different in the gym. And I was like, the tuna. So I kept eating tuna. Then I realized it wasn't the tuna. It was the fact that it was flesh. It was protein. So that's why I realized, holy shit. So then I started eating chicken. So I went into straight, almost all I ate was protein. And this is where, so this is a perfect example of my problem solving skill set, make things really fucking simple. And that, of course, I took this into business and to getting contracts and getting on stage, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, this is at a time when people said, well, you eat too much protein, you're just wasting it. Your body can't turn it into energy. Well, I don't know what to tell you. It was working for me, so I just kept doing it. Down the road, we learned through science that was not the case. Well, fuck, I'd been doing it for 15 years by the time that came out. Mm-hmm. So and now I'm getting out of high school. I'm not fat anymore. I'm pretty fucking strong. And I've kind of figured my way being a hard worker and a problem solver. So I go to college because all I want to do is have more time to lift weights, because I know I'm supposed to be this big, strong guy. And that's all I know. And I don't care, because I know something and I feel like I got a purpose. I have no idea I'm going to make money doing this, but that's too far away. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm worried about putting on muscle, and I'm finally getting looks from the chicks. This is my world. This is great, man. I'm used to a different world. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so check into college at, Jesus Christ, about 180. Come out of college about 260, and I am fucking cock strong, dude. Like I can go into, and this is back in the day when like you go to a Gold's Gym and other big guys, it was like fun battles. Like, hey, you know, who are the strong guys here? Let's get together. And you just fucking hammer it out. You just go. And it was rare that I couldn't whoop the shit out of somebody with strength. Right. Mm-hmm. There were guys that looked better, like really big developed dudes, but I was just like, I looked like I was going to be strong until I lifted. I was like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? And so, and again, it came from just my hard work and my problem solving. Nobody was eating like I was. But I just kept doing what I was doing. And then, so I guess then that turns into college is over. And I'm like, well, fuck, I'm probably at that point was strong enough to actually start competing with Strongman. But physically is John A. Mentally, John B. I still don't see what I am. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to get a job because that's going to take away from doing what I want to do. So you know, I've basically came out, and still that day, it's probably my favorite claim to fame between wrestling, you know, bodybuilding, professional strongman. And I built 3 7-figure businesses now. My favorite claim to fame is I have never fucking had a job. I've never collected a paycheck. I've always done it my way. And
hell yeah.
So, and I came out of college, I'm starting businesses and they're failing. I'm fucking hungry, dude. I'm just hungry to the point where I was couch hopping and I would have to go into a grocery store and walk around and eat and then leave I wouldn't steal anything unless it was in my stomach, because I figure if I got in trouble, you're right. I'm hungry. I figure I'd be different than if they're pulling shit out of my pockets,
Right.
in my mind, that made sense, So anyway, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm hungry. I'm not getting a job. So I need to do something that I know that I can start to feed myself with. I've borrowed money from my mom. She's flipping out. She's like, she doesn't understand what I'm doing. And so I painted houses in college during summers to make money. I just go door to door, help paint your house for $1,500. Then I get a buddy of mine to do most of the work. And I could, in a week, we get it done. I come out there making $800-900 a week this is like 1992. That's pretty good money for a college kid. So well, I'm going to turn that into a real business, but I'm not going to do the work. So I started this business completely fucking illegal. And no license, no insurance, just got this shitty little truck. 5 years later, it's 25 plus employees, and I sell the thing. And I'm in my mid 20s, and I sell the thing. Bam! I got fucking $500,000 in my pocket. And why? Because I'm problem solving. I'm working hard, and I'm getting up early. I'm working on my business. I'm going to the gym, working on my business. And this just turned into a way of life for me. It was like everybody else was doing what they were doing, and I was never doing what everybody else was doing. And in the beginning, it's because I couldn't keep up. Well, thank God. Because had I been able to keep up, I would have done what they did. I would have went and fucking got a job and done what you're supposed to do.
Hey guys, this is Drew from the past interrupting Drew from the future. It might actually be Drew from the future interrupting Drew from the past. I'm not 100% sure, but at the end of the day, yes, I'm putting a commercial in my own video, and I'm sure that YouTube has already hammered you guys with a bunch of random commercials for some pretty weird shit, but that's based on your algorithm. That's not my fault. This one is my fault though, but I just want to take a quick second and remind you guys about the DDT Method School Group. The DDT Method School Group is just $10 per month, but you can contribute to helping the podcast grow just by becoming a member. And when you're in, there's over 50 exclusive videos and articles, and I'm releasing more every week. That's 50 at the time of recording. If you're watching this later, there's probably well over 100, maybe even 200. There's a ton of content in there, regardless of when you jump in, and there's an amazing community of like-minded individuals as well. If you love the DDT Method podcast and you want to support us and continue to be able to watch us grow, this is the best way you can do it. The DDT Method School Group. Information down below somewhere. Again, I'm bad at this. Too many commercials. Back to the show.
So now I'm mid-20s, and I'm fucking even stronger than before. And I'm probably about 280, which is plenty big, and I'm stronger than I look. And one of my early training partners goes, dude, look, you are so much stronger than you look. Everybody looks at you and shits the brick, and then they see you lift. They're like, what? And he goes, if you won't do it for me, won't do it for yourself, do it for me, because I don't have the strength. I was like, God damn it. Okay, so I signed up for my first strongman contest. And thank God he said that to me, because that was the tipping point. So won my first strongman contest. Went to my second one. That's where I met Jesse Morunde, who's, God rest his soul, he's gone now. He became one of my best friends on the circuit. And he really kind of helped me understand. He was young too, dude. I'm like, 5, 6 years, 8 years older than him. And he was just a kid, but he was already there. He was a phenom. Anyway, so I got this money in my pocket. I turned pro on my third contest in strongman, go to pro nationals, go to a pro qualifier, qualify for nationals. Did okay at nationals, but enough to get noticed, to get brought out on what I would call like the B team for travel. So now I'm traveling internationally, and I win my first international pro show as a rookie. And I'm like, holy shit, this is happening. And I'm like, I'm fucking living the dream right now. And now keep in mind, I got that big lump of dough, from my business. And so of course I take that and I start doing it. The real estate market was hot. So I started investing in real estate and basically doing these flips, and I'm making like sometimes 80, 90 grand a flip. And I'm buying these things. I'm coming home from Europe, going to the bank, getting these cashier's checks, going to the courthouse steps, buying these fucking houses that are basically for sale on the courthouse steps, the foreclosures. And because I had all the connections with my painting company, I basically just hired people to do the work, gave it a month or two, had the realtor. It was just like, it was another business, but I wasn't really working a few hours. Never really worked. I guess the only time I worked was that painting company, because I had no real interest in that. When I was doing my real estate thing, I was making money. That's really what I was doing. There wasn't really a whole lot to it other than just kind of being smart enough to know what not to buy.
Well, it also allowed you the ability to train and to focus on
train and to travel. Fuck. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, keep in mind, everything I did was so that I could train and so that I could travel and do what I was living my dream at this point. And so that's the thing that I didn't realize though, is that at that point I didn't really understand what not working was about because I then soon realized that, okay, the true key in life is to make great money where you're financially free. But what you're doing for that money, you would fucking do if you weren't getting paid. And once I turned that corner, it was like the whole fucking thing took another big step forward. I'm having more fun. I'm making more money. But keep in mind, all of these things that I'm talking about required what the average man would call a ballsy step. You know, to me, that's all I've been doing my whole fucking life. There was no, you know, it was never like, I'm going to take this safe route and get this job. No, it's like, I'm going to try this other idea with a business and hope it doesn't fail again.
Is that where you started to develop this deep water mentality that you've kind of turned into like what you're known for? That's kind of your thing,
it, baby.
Where you kind of
because it's
swim
like,
out until you can't see the shore, right?
You got to commit to what you're doing to the point where you're swimming out, hoping there's going to be something to grab a hold of, but you have no regard for how you're going to get home. That's the mentality. And deep water was actually termed. So in Strongman, you've got all these disciplines. So I had a guy that I trained with for power lifts, for, you know, squat and deadlift. I had another guy that I trained with, more of a coach. He didn't really train too much, but he used to be in the Olympic training center for Olympic lifting because we're doing a lot of clean and presses. And like, if you didn't have that technique down, some of the Russians like Mikhail Koklov, they were ex-Olympic lifters. And anytime that something was going overhead, they just ran away with it. I'm like, okay, I need some of that technique. So anyway, his name's Joshua Fay. He's actually a big part of USA weightlifting right now. Really good guy. Anyway, so he starts training me and I'm like, look, dude, I don't need to do a single. I need to do this for fucking 90 seconds full bore. I don't want you to coach me when I'm full, when I have my breath. When I can't breathe, that's what I need you to tell me what I'm doing wrong because my shit breaks down. And so the term came about because, like, per example, we would often do like put 3 plates on. Okay, clean and press it as many times as you can in 90 seconds. And so, you know, 5, 6, 7 reps, you're fucking starting to breathe, face starting to turn colors. And I'd hear him yell, "You're in deep water now. Start listening," because that's when he was going to start talking to me. And so that's how deep water came. That was how it got named. But the idea of just, even when I was young, I mean, I'm doing sets of squats, like I'm putting on 4 plates, 5 plates. And I'm not doing a set of 5. It's how many can I do before I crash? I would often intend not to put the bar away. You already have accepted. This is not going to go on the rack. The question is, how many am I going to get before it ends up on the ground? When you've already accepted you're going to crash, it's a very different mentality for that set. Most people are so afraid to crash, they're shortchanging themselves multiple reps. Well, that last 2 or 3 reps, sometimes you think you don't have any more. I've done like 4 or 5 more when I thought I had no more. Those are the money shots right there. And so just that backwards mentality, that deep water mentality, the idea that I'm not just taking a step, I'm fucking taking a step. And that's just how I approached everything. And it all came because God gave me the biggest fucking gift on the planet. I was dunce when I couldn't fucking read worth of shit. And that's what it was the reading skills that fucked me up, because if you're not reading, you're not learning grammar. There's so many things you're not learning because you're not learning to read well. Anyway, so Strongman was fucking great. I'm just rolling through the timeline here. So Strongman was fucking amazing. You know, I'm competing all over the world. This is also the days in the .com. This is like early 2000s, right? So fucking money's floating around everywhere. I had a sponsor from an energy drink. They never even made it to market. They're giving me $4,000 a month just to wear t-shirts to the gym. I was like, and this is in a time when $4,000 actually made actually worth something. You know, $4,000 now is fucking grocery money. But anyway, so it was just an amazing time in my life. I had actually, because the way I looked, as you're most, especially in those days, there's me and Mars Kuzyanowski of guys in the international scene with abs. That was it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you didn't just have abs, you were shredded. So was that reflective of just still eating so much animal protein? Like, and how was that fueling these strongman competitions?
I was reflective of me being fucking terrified of being fat again.
So how did your performance accelerate so much over the years? Because you just continued to get better and better. Like, were you not eating carbs at all? Were you selectively eating carbs?
I mean, I would eat the carbohydrate. Like if we had a multiple day contest, I would know, okay, I need some quick shit. I got to get some replenishment here. But it was a 1 day contest. Keep in mind, my fat levels are pretty high. I actually this is another interesting one. I had a sponsor. It was way before anybody knew anything about grass-fed beef. But it was true grass-fed beef. These fucking cows just walked around in pastures. And he would send me like 120 pounds a month. And that's all I was eating was fucking ground beef. But the CLA and all the shit that's in that stuff, all the omegas, I look back and I was like, that was probably a big reason why I excelled so in terms of endurance-wise without eating any carbohydrate. You know, because you can't not get carbohydrates. It's almost impossible. I jokingly call them unintentionally digested. But anyway, you know, it was just fucking great. I had an agent, and that was the time when Strongman didn't really have agents, but it was because of the way I looked, because he was getting me these little deals. Like we got me this little spot in the 2006 Super Bowl commercial. And dude, talk about fucking mailbox money. Every time that fucker played, you got another check show up in the fucking mail. So I just, in looking back, sometimes another thing for everybody listening, sometimes you just fucking got to believe that your story's unfolding the way it should be. Because if you look at how my shit unfolded, had I got a chance to be a pro wrestler or a pro bodybuilder before pro strongman, I would have done whatever came my way first. Thank God it worked out the way it did. Number one, because strength is a young man's sport. Number two, because it put me into an upper level of exposure, you know, with, you know, drugs and fucking travel and chicks and all the shit that you get exposed to on the lowest level of what I was going to be involved in. Largely, I say lowest because I was only exposed to it in Europe, not here. In America, we were just fucking guys that were lifting shit, you know, and, you know, we didn't have 20,000, 10,000 people at fucking contests like you would in Europe sometimes. So very different. Anyway, but you got to believe that your plan is unfolding the way it was supposed to be. Strength came first because I was young. I needed the young man's strength. I wasn't mature enough to deal with what I would have seen in wrestling. No way. That would have fucking chewed me up and spit me out. So my strongman career came first. And also the biggest blessing was it was the era. Marius had carved out what they called the athletic era. So it was the guy that was 6 foot, 300-ish pounds, which was me. And I got up a little bit heavier, but now 6 foot, 300 pounds, you're fucking getting thrown away. You know, they're so fucking big now. And so because the athletic era was when I was there, that's how I could exist at the level I was. There's no fucking way I would, if I was coming into the sport now with my frame, I would have not have been able to do what I did. It's just a different game now. So then from there, I end up, you know, and keep in mind, it even beat me up, even in that era. You know, I ended up having a back surgery. And so my agent at the time, he's like, well, the surgeon's telling me that if you go back on the circuit, you're going to be back on this table, get another one of these in about 18 months because you had one ruptured disc, but you have 2 bulges right above it. So if you want to keep our relationship going and you want me to keep looking for deals for you, we're going to have to change what we do. What do we do? And he wasn't, keep in mind, he wasn't some blockbuster agent. He had me, he had Japanese baseball players, but he was living his dream too. So we were fucking 2 bigs and shit, you know? And he goes, we're going to put you in pro wrestling. I'm like, pro wrestling? Holy shit. I mean, I was never a pro wrestling fan. I mean, I remember the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, only because they were big. I was drawn to the big guys. So I mean, just to know how backwards I was with wrestling. I go to the school to learn. It was called APW. They turned out a few big guys, or big names in their time, and they're explaining to me what's going on. And I mean, they're like, okay, when you get thrown out of the ring, how long do you have to get back in? I'm like, I have no fucking clue. I had to learn it all. It was fucking nuts. Anyway, so I said, I don't want to do your classes. I'm going to pay for, most guys come in, they're broke. They're where I was before my strength career. I had money. So look, I want your best fucking trainer, and I want to train privately every fucking day. And they're like, every day is going to be awfully difficult. This stuff beats you up. And I was like, well, just let me try it. Oh, Jesus. I almost didn't make it through every day. Learning to bump, that was brutal. Beat the shit out of me.
Even the ropes, man, like the little things, kick the shit out of you.
Shit, your back's bruised. But I was deep water, baby. I didn't care. I was like, I need to learn to do this. And I need to get out in some of these fucking indie matches so I can get some film, because my agent said, look, go to the school, learn to do what you got to do. And as soon as they give you a match, have your wife fucking film it. You send me the fucking tape. And that was so against what they wanted me to do, because they're like, we have to keep you hidden from. I'm like, okay. I said, okay, yeah, I'm not fucking staying hidden. Fuck you. I need people to see me so I can go where I want to go. I had no illusions of being, some great fucking wrestler. I understood the way I looked was going to get me a shot. And that's basically what happened. So my agent, he calls him one day, he goes, all right. He goes, you're going to Japan. You got 3 matches. Don't fuck this up, because we're probably going to get another shot. Because he had fucking completely created a resume that was false, saying that I knew what I was doing. And they figured it out real quick. They figured it out as soon as I was over there that was all fucking bullshit. But they don't really
but if you're marketable, you're marketable.
Well, they don't really track the indies like that. So he knew it would get me there, right? And then it was up to me. And so I'm thinking to myself, and keep in mind, they're matching with guys that have been doing good in-ring work for fucking 10, 12 years, and they put me with a good worker, thank God. So I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess definitely less than 10, right? Single digit, probably, let's say it was my 9th match. Might've been my 8th, could have been my 10th. It was a fucking pay-per-view in Sapporo, Japan. Think about your 10th match, dude. Think how fucking green you were. Well, that was me. Yep. I'm fucking shitting in my pants. I'm like, okay, fucking break this shit down. Now I've got my simplified methodologies fucking in the can. I got this shit. Okay. You have no fucking clue what you're doing. You know what you're supposed to do out there, but you really don't understand the dance yet. So what you need to do, you need to fucking get out there, and you need to fucking flex your muscles and fucking scream and get those people fired the fuck up, because that's what's going to get you back here. And lucky enough, I didn't fuck the match up. I actually made it through. They canned the whole fucking thing for me. So there was no real work, right. It was just, we're doing this. The only thing that I did was, I remember they pulled me aside and said, look, they call a lariat over there, a clothesline. They're like, do not throw a lariat high. That was the big thing. I didn't even think I threw it high, but I guess I did. Either way. So I made it through the 3. It was basically 3 pay-per-views. It was Antonio Inoki's company. Inoki Genome. It was his spin-off company from New Japan. Did those 3 matches. And fuck, I'll be damned. Right before I left, they asked me if I wanted to come back, and fucking had the paperwork for me to come back. I'm like, yeah. And so off on my fucking pro wrestling career, I ended up getting working with New Japan, which was the goal. I originally wanted to go to WWE, but this was when I was coming in, was right when the Benoit thing happened. And so the guy that I was talking to, I think his name was Ty Bailey, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it would have been Ty around that time. That's who hired me.
Okay, perfect. Well, he calls and said, look, dude, he goes, you got to look. We all know it. But there is no way we can bring somebody like you on board with all the scrutiny that we're under for the PEDs. So you should probably just go another route until this whole thing settles down. Well, as I started getting, I really became accustomed to the Japan tours, because I was already used to doing that in my, go to Europe for a week, come home. Now I'm going to Japan for a couple of weeks. So it fell right into what I was used to. And then there was also, they were partnered with CMLL, Mexican company. And yes, it's Mexican wrestling, but dude, I swear to God, man, that might have been one of my funnest places to wrestle. Holy shit. You could wrestle in Arena, Mexico, televised on Friday night, and you see yourself in the fucking newspaper the next day. I mean, they report on it very differently down there. So anyway, that was a lot of fun too. And then it gets to the point I just did Tokyo Dome shows. It was fucking great. You know, almost 50,000 people. I remember walking down there and it's like, literally it takes 3-4 minutes just to get down there. You know, that's such a long walkway. And I'm thinking to myself, just a fat little boy trying to read. Look what you did. Just counting my lucky stars.
Not anyway, bad at
all. My wrestling career comes to an end because one day they just don't give you that opportunity. And I told myself, when that happens, I'm not going backwards. I'm not going back into the indies like most guys do, trying to recreate their momentum. I was 42 at this point in my life. So came home, tail between the legs, you know, definitely it's a tough one. I'm sure you probably was like too, you know, you get told that, hey, this is not for you anymore. Not even that. It just wasn't even told it's not for you. Just, you know, you're knocking on the door, nobody's answering. Right. You know, which is even harder, you know. How about shake my hand and say, thank you. We found somebody in your spot, you know. Anyway. So I come home and all my career, I've been hearing, you know, man, you sound like a wrestler. You look like a bodybuilder. So I thought, well, fuck, I guess I'm going to try to become a pro bodybuilder. It wasn't like, I guess I'm going to become a bodybuilder. It was, I'm going to become pro bodybuilder. You know, to wrestle, it was like, oh, I'm going to go try to wrestle. I'm going to go get a contract. But that's the deep water mentality. So I hired a coach. And because keep in mind, everything I did, I've always had coaches, even in business, because somebody's got the information I need, and I need to extract that shit fucking quick. I have no problem paying for that. I mean, I keep a $20,000 a year business coach on fucking payroll year after year, because every fucking Thursday morning I have a meeting with him, and he helps me solve a problem that helps me advance yet another fucking big step with my businesses. So anyway, hired a coach. I'm 42 years old. Go win my first contest in bodybuilding. Go to, where was it? Pittsburgh, which is basically a national show. Win this son of a bitch. And this is back to back. I did these two back to back, which I really shouldn't have done. I needed more time to rest between, but I didn't care. I was like, even my coach was like, this is going to be awfully hard. I'm like, I don't fucking care. Let's go. Anyway. So now I won my pro card in 2 bodybuilding contests, which in the bodybuilding world, that's kind of unheard of. I didn't even know, you know. I finished that contest I won, and Palumbo reaches out and says, dude, I need you on my podcast tomorrow morning or tonight, like right away. I was like, okay. And he opens the podcast like, he goes, you know, there's a lot of people in the bodybuilding community, me included, who are a little pissed off with you because we tried to become pros for over a decade and couldn't do it, and you did it in 9 months. And that was kind of my story. I mean, I went from competing at Strongman to international play in about 9 months. You know, wrestling, same thing. And now bodybuilding, I've done it again. So I went from unknown to internationally recognized in 3 different sports in, you know, bam. And the crazy part is, dude, as a fat little boy, I didn't even know how to dream that big. I could have dreamed one of them, not in 9 months, you know, but it just shows you what we're capable of. If you get the limiting beliefs out of the way, you don't listen to the people who tell you can't, because half the time they're the ones that get that dumb shit started in your head. And you just do what you do to the best that you can and have fucking faith and you believe. So now I'm a pro bodybuilder. Do my third ever bodybuilding contest is my pro debut. And the guys in the back wouldn't fucking believe me. You know, it's like, what do you mean it's your third contest? Well, then they saw me pose and they realized, okay, he's pretty fucking green. But I placed 5th. Now I podium in my third ever bodybuilding contest, which is my pro debut. And I'm just like a fucking pig in shit the whole time. And it's just one thing after the next. And during this, I've been having business success the whole way through. And it's because the mentality that I approach things is always the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so somewhere the 2008 crash hit, and I got fucking scalped, dude, in the real estate world. Like I was pretty much done. I thought I was like, fuck. Financially, I was like, I'm pretty much fucking done. I mean, 28 doors. A bunch of them were fucking paid for, and so everything fucking crashed. And I'm like, well, I just got to fight and hold all this shit. So I ended up basically started taking money from the ones that were paid for to fund the other ones that were fucking going under. I pretty much had to walk away from all of it. You know, I've kept I didn't file bankruptcy. I kept my life, but basically everything that I had, I didn't say everything, but I mean, I had gone from being pretty much done to say, okay, you're at another crossroads, dude. What are you going to do? And this was another fucking huge blessing because God damn it, had that not happened, I would have made the decision of from this point forward, you will not do anything for money that you don't enjoy. And that's when fucking things really changed. So I started a fucking gym. My coaching company was born. And it was just like, now I'm really not fucking working, you know? And because I'm really not working, I'm doing even better at this stuff. And it just keeps getting fucking better and better. And I guess all of the fucking dust settles. Now I'm a 3-time 7-figure business creator as an entrepreneur, never had a fucking job. And I've got this fucking memory bank of experiences that is like so fucking rich. I pinch myself often.
That's amazing. And it's really a testament to perseverance as a whole and just clinging on and not giving up. Hey guys, this is Drew from the past interrupting Drew from the future. It might actually be Drew from the future interrupting Drew from the past. I'm not 100% sure, but at the end of the day, yes, I'm putting a commercial in my own video, and I'm sure that YouTube has already hammered you guys with a bunch of random commercials for some pretty weird shit, but that's based on your algorithm. That's not my fault. This one is my fault though, but I just want to take a quick second and remind you guys about the DDT Method School Group. The DDT Method School Group is just $10 per month, but you can contribute to helping the podcast grow just by becoming a member. And when you're in, there's over 50 exclusive videos and articles, and I'm releasing more every week. That's 50 at the time of recording. If you're watching this later, there's probably well over 100, maybe even 200. There's a ton of content in there, regardless of when you jump in, and there's an amazing community of like-minded individuals as well. If you love the DDT Method podcast and you want to support us and continue to be able to watch us grow, this is the best way you can do it. The DDT Method School Group. Information down below somewhere. Again, I'm bad at this. Too many commercials. Back to the show. Your coaching has begun to just really become just recognized across our industry because it's so multifaceted. You can work with such a huge variety of different athletes, different people and whatnot. And in the meantime, you're continuing to drive your brand with your own training. And at this point, man, like you're still like gigantic and lean and shredded. And I know that, Father Time catches us all, but you're beating that motherfucker back. So what have you done in the last decade? Like, how are you doing this though? Like, how have you utilized things like maybe peptides or small molecules, or how have you adjusted your approaches to things? Because earlier on, it's hard, it's heavy, it's intensive volume, intensive workload, because you have to be good at everything. You have to be big, you have to be fast, you have to be strong. In wrestling, it's almost the same thing. In bodybuilding, sometimes the weights don't matter as much, but you're still going crazy heavy. You're accumulating so much volume. And then on top of that, the tools that we have to use for a lot of these sports to maintain that look and build and capitalize on it, they can be pretty harsh on the system. And I know you're not doing now the things that you did to excel in those other sports, but how do you look the way you look, and how are you so healthy? Like, what type of like peptide interventions, if not other interventions, therapies, like how do you approach training and supplementation now?
Well, one of the things you hit on the head, brother, is it is one fucking constant evolution. And I think people need to understand that even if they're not talking about the different sports and entertainment that I negotiated, just talk about your age. Like the way I trained 25 years ago, I train now are totally different. I make the joke. It's like, if you knew how little I do in the gym now, it would fucking shock you because I don't recover like I did. So if I train too hard, I go backwards. But the thing I want to lead with, I just wanted to give you props for fucking catching that. So many people just don't fucking, understand the evolution of how things work. But the foundation of the whole fucking thing is there's two major elements, three, but I really keyed on two. Number one was I've just stuck to a really fucking good diet the whole time. And it's primarily around flesh. That's the bottom line. I eat so much flesh, it's really difficult to pollute myself with processed foods. And now I've eaten, whole foods so long. I mean, if I ate something highly processed, it would make me sick as a dog. My body's like, get the fuck out of here. Don't do that shit again. So I really don't want foods that most people want. Like a lot of my clients, I tell them, look, about 4 to 6 months, you're going to be kind of blown away. The shit that you used to want, you won't want anymore. It's because your body evolves. It's a different creature at that point. So diet, number one. And if I was to give a quick takeaway for the viewers, just fucking avoid processed foods and sugars. That's the two biggest things you got to watch for. The processed foods just don't digest well. If it doesn't digest well, it's not going to translate into muscle well, or energy or focus or anything else for that matter. Then the next thing is, now this rule got a little destroyed during wrestling, but it was just a sliding scale. I have gone to bed at 8 o'clock most of my life. I mean, in strength, it was like fucking clockwork, right? Bodybuilding, same thing. I like to get up early because I can be productive. And if I'm going to get up early, I sure as hell got to go to bed early. So I have a set time for bed. Most people don't have a set time for bed. They have a set time to wake up. So that's huge. And I've heard so many high level entrepreneurs say, look, if you have a set bedtime, you're going to be more successful than 90% of people you know. And it sounds silly, but it's one little piece of discipline that sounds like, oh, I'll do that. But it's not as easy as you think if you're going to do this for any length of time.
Now, do you have like a sleep routine? Do you have anything else that you focus on as the evening's approaching and the day's winding down? Or is it just, I'm in bed by this time?
Usually by my last time I eat, usually about 6:30 to 7. And then that's kind of sick. My body knows I've had that meal. Meals are usually a little bit bigger, largely because it kind of sets me back. If I eat too much in the middle of the day, it kind of sets me back. Like it kind of takes my energy levels down. So I'll eat a little bit more on purpose. It's a higher fat meal, which the body knows, okay, it's time to heal. It's time to chill out. And then by about 7 o'clock, I take a shower, that warm water. It's like by 8 o'clock, I'm barely got my eyes open. And so that's the food and the bedtime is really like in wrestling. Of course, sometimes I wasn't even fucking getting in the ring until, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. But when guys were going out, staying out till fucking 4, I was going home and going to bed. It would be considered to be 8 o'clock for that schedule. So by the time I got to wrestling, I was pretty much family manned out, kids, wife. I was there to make money. I wasn't the guy that was like, oh my God. I mean, I was living my dream still, but I wasn't the guy that was just couldn't wait to be a pro wrestler, live the pro wrestler lifestyle. Right. There's a lot of guys that get in that realize, okay, I want to be here. So I need to be careful with that shit. And I was one of them. So, but I would say that number one, if you take that out of the equation, the stuff we'll talk about next doesn't work the same. I was always really big on detox because let's be honest, the shit that we got to do, it fucks up our insides, man.
What type of detox? What were some of your approaches to that?
Well, early on, it was high levels of glutathione. I had a sponsor. Because the way I look, I had a lot of great sponsors. And I had this place, it was called Talos. And they were nutrition and they were like a clinic. And so you prescribe shit whatever I needed, which was great. But one of what they did was they prescribed a ton of glutathione. And this was before I discovered TUDCA, which is my current detox. And glutathione, they were giving me these fucking vials that were like 5 cc's in their water.
So you were injecting glutathione years before it became popular, because now we know all the benefits of that one and just relieving oxidative stress.
I started doing that in probably Jesus Christ, middle of 2000s.
So that is a testament to some of these longevity techniques, because that's actually long-term proof right there about how strong that is. That's awesome.
Well, again, here's the interesting thing. I don't use it anymore. The crazy part is because so now I'm in bodybuilding. We're fast forward, right? And funny enough, I mean, bodybuilding is worse than anything else when it comes to shit you got to do to yourself to fucking get that look. Holy Christ. Anyway, so you get a blood test and you know when you come off stage, you're running hot. That's just part of the equation. Now, how do I get from fucking red hot to cool it off so I can do it again? Well, you look at your blood test, you're okay, what kind of damage do I have to undo? And so the glutathione was always really good at taking care of that. Well, somehow, some way they had an issue with the compounded pharmacy that was creating it for me. Like and I'm like, fuck, the timing couldn't be worse. This is like where I need it. And anyway, and I was always kind of one of those guys where they would give it to me, give me extra. I was just taking it, because I didn't see there was a downside to taking extra.
Right.
Anyway, so my coach at the time is like, look, dude, he goes, I've been telling you about this stuff called TUDCA. Just fucking do it. You have no choice now. I'm like, okay, where do I get it? And he sent me the link. And in those days, now you get it in capsules. In those days, shit came in a fucking tub and you had to scoop this stuff in your mouth. And it was, I mean, it's basically bile.
Yep.
I mean, you want to talk about acid in that's what it is. It's just, I mean, it was so bad.
I've done it before. It is fucking brutal.
When I have my clients, when I tell my clients to take it, right, it comes in capsules. I say, look, don't take it on an empty stomach. Make sure you put food over the top, because if that capsule opens up in your mouth and you burp that up, it will fucking burn the shit out of your sinuses, like unbelievably, like teary eyes. So I was big on the detox, and I've always, when it comes down to it, just when we're hard on ourselves, I mean, two of the biggest jobs the body has is hydrating and detox. So if you help the body with these things, I'm always good about drinking water on a schedule, like with food. So that was helpful. Detox was helpful. And then like when it comes to, in my last, because I only competed as two amateurs, and then I was open pro for my third until my last contest. An open pro, man, it's fucking heavy hitting shit. It's all no holds barred, whatever you want to do. Nobody's fucking questioning what you're doing.
Right.
And so there was a certain point where now I'm in my last one was 49 years old, my last contest. And so I want to say the last 2 maybe years, I didn't use a single oral, because I was like, you know what? Those things they just do too much damage. Yeah. And it's like when you're young, you can get away with some of that shit. And I'm like, I got no illusions to fucking become Mr. Olympia at fucking 47 years old. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm still competitive with guys that are fucking 15 years younger than me, and it's leveraged the shit out of my businesses. So that's why I made the decision. And you'll hear about guys like that. They're like, I'm going to have to do this next prep without orals, and they're being smart. That's what we have to do, is make the decisions that, you have to look past the, contest day. If you don't do that, you don't have a long career.
Or potentially a long life if you're not thinking about it too far in advance.
Totally. It's like the wrestling mentality. If you're living, if every night after a show is like a Saturday, it will chew you up real fucking quick.
Exactly. So how did all this transition as you started to focus on coaching and still had to maintain your image, which you've clearly done? Like, how did your approach to enhancing your performance and enhancing your recovery, how did that change? And what were some of the new tools that you implemented?
Well, now a peptide world has opened up. And so that's been, I experienced peptides the very first time. Oh, Jesus Christ. It would have been in my strength career. That was just basically back when it was BPC, and there was melanotan, but just a few.
Yep, the GHRPs I remember I was messing with when I was in WWE, because we couldn't get tested for them, so I couldn't afford growth. So I'm like, all right, GHRP2, GHRP6, melanotan. They banned us from tanning because the girls would stain the canvas with the mats, and they said no more spray tans. And we're like, okay, so we all got on melanotan, and everybody was 10 shades darker.
And it was kind of like a cult at that point. It was so unknown. It was, but then as soon as the business people came in, and funny enough, I almost wish I would have thought about it from that perspective back then, but it wasn't big enough to really do what companies are doing now at that point anyway, because it wasn't discovered yet. Right. But it was such a little cult. You didn't have to worry about where you're getting something that was bunk because there were so few places that were actually doing it. As soon as the fucking money came in, all of a sudden the integrity of these companies started going to shit because they started cutting corners to make money. And so I dropped out of it altogether because I did not like the idea of injecting something in myself that I need to be able to track that back to the source for me to feel comfortable. And there was no way to do it. So I kind of just dropped out of that world. And then it got so popular and I was like, okay, the research that we have, just, you can't deny it's a signaling molecule that just tells your body, hey, do shit like you did when you were 19. Well, how the fuck how do you argue with that? And so I started getting back into it. I started creating relationships. And then when I say relationships, like people that were actually doing the whole thing, like people that were bringing it from A to Z. So I knew the person, I could call the person that tracked the whole process. I was comfortable with that. So I got back into it. And at that point, there were so many more good peptides that have been discovered and we learned how to use them. So, some of my favorites like MOTS-C, I'm a big one. I'll do SS31, then MOTS-C. I don't do them together because they overstimulate me together. Everybody's different. I'm just talking about me.
No, I agree with that because the SS31 is making the cell so much stronger and the MOTS-C is just optimizing everything going on. Yeah. I can see how that would be too strong for a lot of people.
100%. So I run the SS and I feel real good on the SS. And when that's done, I'll do it. I just kind of flip back and forth bottle to bottle. Mm-hmm. And there's no question I feel better when I do it. The BPC TB combo, that's actually been a game changer in terms of because I've ripped so many muscles over the years. I can't tell you how much scar tissue that shit has fucking just, it's like, I make the joke. It's like a little fucking rat running around my body, eating these lumps of cheese. Mm-hmm. Like these lumps of scar tissues that I've been trying to get massaged out for fucking decades just are disappearing.
Right.
And right now I'm at my house in Mexico. And I was bringing my stuff down with me and I miscalculated by a bottle of BPC. So I'm actually out right now. So, and rarely do I come off it. I'll just kind of move the different levels. Holy shit, I can feel the fucking difference too.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, that stuff manages inflammation so well on top of all the actin signaling and the healing and whatnot. How much have you been able to alter maybe your hormone use? And is it something where you found that you don't have to rely on the traditional stuff anymore to maintain size because of this?
I made a video. I made a series of them. And in the titles, if I had to pick one, if I had to pick one, it would be Retatrutide. It's because there's just so many things. Now, granted, I got to be a little deeper on that. Part of what I say in the video is your endocrine system has to be balanced. If it's totally fucking upset, peptide is going to have a hard time giving you its full effect.
We have that understanding, hopefully, as a community in fitness and longevity and whatnot. Like your testosterone should be you should be optimized. You should be either optimizing your levels to something healthy or using a clinic, or you need to basically be, there's no reason to start taking every peptide in the world if you have the test level of a 99-year-old man. So that's,
I say it's the foundation. If that foundation is there, then these peptide building blocks have something to build off of. But if you're, like I said, if you got a testosterone of a fucking 95-year-old, it's like trying to build a house in sand.
Exactly.
So, but ultimately, there's so with the peptide world, there's just so many. And the thing I love about peptides is they are so specific. Like, what is the problem you have? Well, these peptides are going to solve that problem. They'll solve other ones also. Mm-hmm. But as to where, when it comes to just good old standard tests and that whole genre, it's like you're just taking these blanket things, and it's granted, you want to do this and this, but BPC TB combo, it's to reduce inflammation. It's to help with healing. It's so specific. So I love the fact that it's like the idea that between the diet and the endocrine system and the formulation of peptides and how you actually put them in, you could create these formulas that just fucking, I call it the sweet spot. You hit your sweet spot. And it's like, whoa, I would definitely say that, like, one of the things I love about Reta is, I got that fucked up thing in my head with food from when I was a little boy.
Right.
Matt, we didn't talk about my addiction. I'm a massive addict. I've had massive pain pill addictions. I've had a lot of stupid addictions. Sugar was my first one because I ran to sugar to cover up my fucking problems, which God knows we run to pain pill to cover up problems too. But that was my first one. Well, dude, Reta massages that addictive center of the brain, slows that in that dopamine chase. So now, for the first time in my fucking life, I actually feel like I have more control over food, which is my biggest addiction, than anything else. And for me, I didn't realize I was giving away about 25% of my mental bandwidth, basically propelling the discipline I needed to do what I needed to do with food. Now it's like, it almost comes naturally.
It's funny because it modulates that so well. I just want to touch on that that power of Retatrutide. I've told the story before, but I was a habitual THC user every night to go to bed since my wrestling career, just from being banged up. And it was one of those things where people will comment like, "There's not really that huge of an issue with some THC use. That's not really going to kill anybody."
No.
But I was doing it every single day in excessive amounts. The sun would go down. I'd be done with work. Time to rock and roll, and it would be like, the edibles aren't enough. I have to smoke it. I know that's not great for my lungs long term, and that's arguable too. But when I started Reta, after probably 2 weeks of Retatrutide, in Florida, we still need a prescription for just easy access to THC. My prescription was up. I needed to renew it, and I was like, my doctor's in Tampa. I live in Sarasota. I don't feel like driving. And I just let it lapse. I'll renew it later. And then like 6 months went by, and I was like, oh. I haven't used this in a while. So Retatrutide, that's what it does, and the inflammation markers and everything else. Tell me more about your Retatrutide experience. What are some other things that you noticed incorporating that?
Well, the number one thing is I went to it because God damn it, if I can have some help with the dopamine chasing, I'm a dopamine chasing motherfucker. Mm-hmm. So then it made it to where at nighttime, that bigger meal didn't turn out to be too big. And I noticed, holy shit, just that alone, I started like really fucking tightening up beyond what I normally look like. And then I'm like, it was like 6-7 weeks goes by. And I'm looking in the mirror and my lower lats, like when you're competing, there's certain markers you look for. Like, okay, my lower lats are coming in. I'm getting close. I need to see those lower lats coming in by 6 weeks or I'm fucking late. Well, I'm not in fucking pre-contest, not even one bit. And all of a sudden my lower lats start coming in. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So it was just like, it just started chewing up body fat on me. And it was like, so, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we do is looking good as part of that. Definitely help with inflammation. I think another thing too, is it just kind of, for me personally, because it slowed that dopamine chase, I just feel fucking better. I feel like I'm in more control of the things that I used to have to really fight to keep control of them. When I say keep control, I need to keep control of those things, because if I didn't control those things, they would fuck my life up.
Right. No, I'm the same way, brother. Same exact way. So we're touching on this Reta experience.
Relaxed me a little bit. To answer your question, the biggest thing, it just fucking kind of chilled me out a little bit. Like really helped me. Really, because I'm in that phase of my life now where it's like I've got these businesses and I've got these heads of my business. I'm team leaders, and I talk to my team leaders and they go handle business. And my wife and I, we've got these different fucking houses, different spots. We're bouncing around and having a fucking time of our lives. But down deep, I was still fucking struggling, making sure I wasn't fucking up. And that whole thing just kind of started to lift. I was like, whoa, this is really fucking cool. This is a part of my life I never knew I was going to get to have.
I think so many people take it for one purpose and then they see all these other things. And then not to mention like cardiovascular markers start to improve. All this cool shit starts happening. So Reta, and you have your video about if you had to pick one, that's obviously one of the biggest game changers. You use the BPC regularly, TB500, MOTC, the SS31. Are there any others that you've kind of added and taken out and used strategically that you've noticed like significant effects from? Do you have any other favorites?
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely play with different levels of my use of BPC TB and GHK, and then also add an ARA 290. So
how's that one worked for you? Because I haven't experienced it yet. I've had a lot of interest.
I'll tell you a quick story. So you know what it's like when you're giving suplex, where you're giving or taking them, you're laying on the back of your fucking neck. And that shit takes a toll, pretty soon. You don't really know it at the time, but down the road, it starts popping up. Well, I started noticing my training. I'm like, God, my right arm, which is my dominant arm, is lagging at a dumbbell press. It's not good. It means that something's going on there. And I just kind of watched it and it became very prevalent. It was weaker. It's a nerve thing. It's not getting, I'm not able to the nerve that's triggering the muscle is not, something's wrong with it. And as it progresses, start realizing, God damn it, I'm getting this shit in my fingertips, going to sleep. Next thing you know, whole arm's going to sleep. And it was going to sleep 4 or 5 times a day. So I was like, okay, I'm not fucking with this. I had that on my left leg from my back surgery, and my left S1 nerve is damaged into the point where my left calf doesn't fire the way it should. So I'm like, I'm not letting this go like that. So I cranked up my BPC TB and GHK, and I brought my GHK up to the point where, like, for me, I know it's too much because it gives me sensitive skin if I take too much.
Right.
So I found the sensitive skin, backed off a little bit. I'm not recommending people do this. I'm an experimenter. I've always been an experimenter. So I found that spot, ran this shit, and I was cycling it 3 weeks on. I was BPC, TB never stopped, but the GHK, I was going 3 weeks on, week off, because if there was a buildup of copper, I wanted it to get out.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I'd say 2 months in, I noticed, holy shit, my arm is only going to sleep a couple times a day now. And so it's somewhere in the midst of that, I had added in the ARA 290 because it's more of a nerve thing. And so I ran 3 bottles of ARA. And I ran this higher level of the BPC TB combo with the GHK, and my right arm stopped going to sleep altogether. Now, here's the fucking cool part. You hit it on the head. It solves other problems, right? So this is better. They go, okay, great. Now I don't have to worry about my fucking right arm shriveling up. So who wants that? But I realized, I thought I'd given myself arthritis in my wrist because it was all the heavy overhead training,
right,
with barbell and shit. All of a sudden I realized, God damn, my wrist I don't even use wrist straps anymore. Really? I used to have fucking put on wrist straps to fucking warm up because my wrist would ache almost immediately with any torque. Right?
I'm the same way.
This is when I realized also, because I had torn my right bicep multiple times in the belly and once completely off. And so there's scar tissue there, and I started, I was always digging on it, just always, we're doing what we can to try to get that shit to go away.
Right.
And I wasn't really paying much attention to that because I'm paying attention to those stuff. And I start kind of doing my wrist. So I start doing some inventory. I'm like, holy shit, I don't have that fucking scar tissue. It's really diminished. So not only did it fix the nerve in my arm, it made my wrist, they're still better. And it chewed up a bunch of scar tissue in my body. So as I got deeper into it, I realized the TB 500 is primarily the culprit for that. So now what I do is I'll take a bottle of BPC TB combo, right? I take like a 5 ml bottle. I'll take a 5 ml of just a TB, and I'll just basically, that's going to be the mix. So it's really heavy to the TB, but it's chewing up scar tissue. I've done hamstrings so many times. I could go a year ago, 2 years ago, I could sit like this and find scar tissue in either one of my hamstrings very quickly. I'm hunting right now. I can't find any.
It might be something with that TB500 affinity to just increase signaling systemically. And that's why, sometimes, and I don't tell everybody just go ahead and experiment haphazardly, but experimenting intelligently once you understand how these things work, and then having a system where it's like, I'm going to increase this, like you said with the GHK, I'm going to come off of this because this can happen, or I write it up this high and then I notice that this happens, so I bump it back. That's honestly such an intelligent approach, because that's going through and finding out not just how these things work, but how they work specifically for you. Jon, I want to be respectful of your time. We just hit 1 hour, and I know you've got a ton of stuff going on, but we'll have to have you back on for maybe like a peptide deep dive.
I feel like this is like fucking 15 minutes, brother. This is really fucking cool having this discussion. Count me in, brother. Count me in. Let's do it. Let's do it.
We'll schedule that out, because I want to deep dive into your experimentations and things that you found out with process of elimination, trying this, trying that, because that's where the really cool stuff comes from that affects and helps everybody. In the meantime, Jon, how do we find more of your information? How do we find out about your coaching, your businesses, your platforms? Where do we find more stuff on you?
I would say the easiest way to get a hold of me would be go to my Instagram account and just drop a message in there, because that's really the only platform. I got platforms everywhere. That's the only platform that I actually go and try to frequent and stay, because I don't forget where I came from, man. You know, the fact that people actually look at me and think, fuck, you know, I want to talk to you. I want to know what you know. Man, thank all of you. That's fucking, I'm fucking blessed. So I don't take that for granted whatsoever. So for the most part, you'll hear back from me pretty quickly there.
And we'll plug that in the show notes. But what is that Instagram account for anybody listening that doesn't have access to checking that?
At the Jon Andersen, but obviously my name is Jon and Andersen is Andersen, which screws people up. But
perfect.
Another really cool, because I've been pretty fucking censored. Like they take down videos like all the time. Like I can't really talk about peptides there anymore. And so if I put up a peptide video and they fucking throw the strike on me, I've actually had my account taken multiple times. I got a good hacker who gets it back for me, but it fucking costs to fucking grip every time I got to get it back. So I just stopped talking peptides there. But I created a really cool resource. It's called japrotocols.com. That's basically it's really kind of like a lookalike Instagram, but I can fucking speak freely. I can tell you, I can list say, hey, when I'm doing Reta, I like putting Motzi with it. Or I'll talk about when I'm doing Retatrutide, when I'm going through the holidays and I need a little more appetite suppressant, I'll bring in some cagrelintide at like a 5-to-1 ratio. This is the kind of shit that I put over there because nobody can fucking turn me off. It's my fucking shit.
Perfect. Perfect.
So, and there's also really cool, there's a peptide calculator there. So I think your viewers had fun with that.
Awesome. So we'll definitely do the peptide deep dive next time. But in the meantime, everybody go check out that website, and there you'll get Jon's actual peptide protocols and advice in a more direct way. That's not going to get him kicked off of social media, because we got to be careful with all of that stuff. Jon, thank you so much. As I told you before we started recording, this is almost like a bucket list interview for me. I followed your career for so long, and this is some awesome information that people can take and start utilizing. So until we get you here next time, people will deep dive into your stuff if they haven't heard of you already, if they've been living under a rock. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the DDT Method Podcast. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.